And a very warm welcome to day 2 of week 3, our second day playing with Crew, this time continuing, doing some building and exploring the Crew framework. To quickly recap what we did last time, we learned about an agent, the agent being the smallest autonomous unit. It has an LLM associated with it. It doesn't actually need to. You can have an agent without an LLM, but they typically do. It has a role, a goal, a backstory, and it also has memory and tools. Not that we've looked at either of them just yet. And then a task. This is the concept which doesn't have an analog in OpenAI Agents SDK. A task is an assignment to be carried out with a description, expected output, perhaps an output file, and it's assigned to an agent. And then a crew, which is a team of agents and tasks together assigned to those agents, and they can run sequentially or hierarchically, in which case you'd have to assign a manager LLM to figure out which task is assigned to which agent. So that's the overall structure of Crew, which now should be pretty familiar to you. And you'll remember that there are 5 steps that we went through when we set up our first Crew project. First of all, we created a project. We did CrewAI create Crew, my project, or we did debate, but it could be whatever we want, and it will set up that whole file system structure for us. We then go into source and then the name of the project and then config. And that is where we find the YAML files, which we can call them whatever we want. But by default, there are 2 there, one for the agents, one for the tasks, and we fill them in with the details. We then go to the crew.py module in our source project folder, and we create the agents, the tasks, and the crew using the functions that are already set up there for us and using the decorators. And we reference the YAML config. We don't need to. We could actually manually pass in those fields when we create each of those objects. But the config file makes that easy for us and keeps some of this prompting text separate from our code, which is a nice separation. Then fourth, we update the main.py module to set the config, to set up the run parameters that we did when we specify the inputs, the fact in our case that the topic of debate, the motion was, as it happens, about AI regulation, and then we can run. And the way we run is we type CrewAI run from within the project folder, which behind the scenes does a UV run, and then it's off to the races with our Crew framework. Okay, so we're going to go a little bit deeper in 2 ways, and we're going to set up another project today. And one of those ways is with tools, something that we're very familiar with already, equipping agents with capabilities. We will see how to do that CrewAI style. And then the other one is about context, and this is how you tell Crew what information is to be passed from one task to another. So these are the 2 extra details we're going to get into today when we build our second Crew. And let's go and do that right now. So just before we go into Crew, there's another of these APIs that I need you to sign up for, but you'll be pleased to hear it's another free one. And this is going to be quite a contrast with our experience with OpenAI Agents SDK. We're going to use something called SERPA, which is a fast way to run Google queries from code. It's an API to run lightning fast Google search at an unbeatable price. And indeed, it is unbeatable. So you go to serpa.dev and you sign up by pressing that button there. And I've already done so. And so I can sign in with my account. And here I am. And the thing is that you get 2,500 free credits, which is more than enough for this course. And this will allow us to do plenty of searches quite happily indeed. And you will go to API key, which I won't do now, you will get my API key, but you go there to create your API key, and as usual, copy it into your clipboard, because that is something that you will need for your .env file. And in your .env file, you should have entered that in as serpa_API_key. Cursor will actually prompt you for that if you start typing it. Serpa API key. And if you're interested, SERP, where that comes from, SERP stands for Search Engine Results Page, which is the common name for these kinds of services. And there is another one that's called something similar to SERPA. So be sure that you use SERPA API key, not, I think there's one called SERP API or something, which is different. So be sure to have the right key there. Okay, so with that, we are still in the debate folder. We will close that. Here we are in our crew folder in Cursor for week 3, and we are going to go into bringing up a new terminal. It's still got what we had before. Let's clear this. Let's exit that. Let's start a fresh terminal. Here it is. We're going to go into the third folder, crew, and it's time for us again to create a new project. Do you remember how to create a crew project? Well, here you do it. It's CrewAI, create, crew again, as opposed to a flow, which is different. And then we're going to make one that's called financial researcher, somewhat inspired by the default one that's already there. Let's have a financial researcher. Let's create that right now. So as before, we just choose OpenAI and GPT-4o Mini, and we skip setting up the key, and it has created the financial researcher project and a bunch of scaffolding for us, which is great. And this is where we will get started. Okay, so let's close the terminal, come into financial researcher. You know the deal now. There is a source folder. It has a config. And that is where we want to begin. We want to begin by looking at our agents. So this is the agents. And we are, in fact, we're going to have a researcher agent. And we're going to make this a bit shorter and just have an analyst agent, a researcher agent and an analyst agent. So what are they going to do? So this time I'm going to simply copy and paste a whole new section here and talk it through with you. So the role is going to be a senior financial researcher for a company that we will specify in the inputs like before. It's going to research that company, news and potential for that company. The backstory, you're a seasoned financial researcher with a talent for finding the most relevant information about company. Known for your ability to find the most relevant information, present it in a clear and concise manner. And that's where we specify the LLM, which we can mix this up if we wish. And we now choose to have our second agent, the analyst. Let me put in what I've got here. Market analyst and report writer focused on a company. You analyze the company and you create a comprehensive, well-structured report that represents insights in a clear and engaging way. Meticulous, skilled analyst with a background in financial analysis and company research, a talent, etc., etc. It's interesting that this construct of having us tell the backstory, it really does encourage better prompting. If I were just writing a system prompt, instructions, as we did last week, I probably wouldn't think through expressing myself this way in terms of using a word like meticulous and meaningful insights and so on. So it is helpful putting us through the discipline of having to give a backstory, helps give more context and helps make sure that we're going to get the best outputs, the best outcomes from running the LLM. All right, so with this, let's now talk about our tasks. Okay, so we're moving over to tasks, and we are going to have a research task and an analysis task. So it's not too different to the boilerplate one, but we are going to do a little bit more work here. So for the research task, going to really spell out what it is that we want this task to involve. Conduct thorough research on this company. Focus on the current status and health, the historical performance, challenges and opportunities, recent news, future outlook, potential development. Make sure to organize your findings in a structured format with clear sections. And then the expected output is a bit repetitive, but it says what we want, the well-defined sections, and we again mentioned the input, the company. And that is going to be assigned to the researcher. Okay, and the analysis task. Now you'll notice there's no output file there, so you might be thinking, what's going on here? Well, let's see now. Let's give this a description that is going to be quite detailed again. Analyze the research findings and create a comprehensive report. The report should, and then we have the different sections in the report: executive summary, information, insights, market outlook, and be formatted in a professional style. And for the expected output, will again be a bit repetitive here. There's never a harm in being repetitive. Polished professional report on the company representing the research findings. And the agent that we want to mention here, of course, should be the research. This is the agent is the analyst. That's the agent that we made for the analysis task, of course. Okay, so there's a few more things that we want to add here. We want to make sure that the output from the research task is included as part of the analysis task. And Crew gives us a super easy way to do that. You just type context. And yes, of course, Cursor tells us what to do. By saying that context can take a list like this, and we are giving the research task as part of the context that's needed for the analysis task. And just with that simple step, we ensure continuity and we ensure that the output is included in the research task. And then finally, we are going to have an output file for this. And now we're going to, let's call that report.md in the output directory. That seems fine. Okay, and now to the all-important Crew.ai. And here we have, as usual, some gunk. We have the financial researcher. I'm going to be bold here. I'm going to leave in, oops, say that and I delete it. I'm going to leave in the config file that we want, and I am just going to delete everything else, and then we're just going to rewrite it. You want me to rewrite? Well, we're going to rewrite this entire file right now. Okay, so what do we want here? We want an agent. So we put in the decorator for agent. Let's see, let's just press tab and see what we get. We want an agent that is the researcher. That's correct. We probably want to say verbose is true. There we go. And then we also want an agent that's called the analyst. And that is going to be an agent that is going to, what's happening? I'm all over the place. Sorry, this is an agent and this should be an analyst. And now we're getting help from Cursor. That all looks great. Okay, so now we want to have a couple of tasks. So we want to have a task that is called the research task. That sounds right. It's going to be a task that is going to the research task. That's perfect. And the analysis task, that looks good to me as well. So all is well. And now we want the Crew. And yes, thank you. Very nice. Cursor is filling it all in for us. We want the process to be the process dot sequential and verbose to be true. Cursor is faster than me. I'm playing catch up here, but that is perfect. So remember, self.agent is populated. Sorry, self.agents is populated because we have agent decorators around our agent functions methods, and then tasks is also decorated here. So everything looks great to me. Okay, now we go to main, and I think again we're going to want to just delete all of this and start again, and I will type it for you manually. Okay, here we go. So we're going to delete the gunk. We are going to delete everything, but just only leave in run. That's going to be it. Okay, so run the researcher Crew. Isn't it amazing that Cursor knows that our input is a company? That inputs, we did indeed just have company as the templated curly braces thing. Just in case you don't know what I mean we have this right here. Company is the one input that needs to go into our YAML. And if we go back to main, then automatically Cursor realized that we needed to set company and populated it there. All right, then we're going to say, result is the financial researcher.crew.kickoff. And that all looks great to me. And then we're going to print the result.raw. Thank you, Cursor. And that's really it. I think that's all we need. Now, you might be thinking, hey, didn't we set up SERPA? Are we not going to use that for something? We are going to use it for something, but all in good time. Let's first just try running this without making any proper Google lookup and see what happens. Okay, well, just before we run it, let's change the models. Let's give ourselves some more interesting models to experiment with. For our researcher, let's go with DeepSeek. Now, of course, you could do whatever models you would like here. This should be DeepSeek Chat. That'll be the right one for us to use. And you could stick with OpenAI, or you could use a different model or use a Llama and run it locally if you wish. I will try a Grok model for this one. Let's use this here, Llama 3370 billion versatile. That's one of the most powerful open source models from Meta. And we'll use that via Grok, the high performance inference. You could also run something locally, like use a Llama to run Llama 3.2, 1 billion or 3 billion version of it. So that's just to mix up the models, to try something a bit different. And now let's go and open up a new one of these guys, a new terminal. Let's make it nice and big. And we will go into project, our folder number 3 for Crew. We will go into our financial researcher. And you remember we type CrewAI run to kick this off. And we'll see what happens. It's thinking. Now, I will tell you that you'll see, by the way, that the agent has been assigned the task financial researcher for Tesla. That shows how that those inputs, those parameters, automatically got set as the agent's role. Now, I'll tell you that the DeepSeek takes its time over this. It takes a good 30 seconds, I guess, because it's producing quite comprehensive research as part of this. So we will allow it to do its thing. Maybe next time we should have them both be Grok so that it's nice and fast. But it's going through. We've gone off to DeepSeek AI's servers, where it is the 671 billion parameter model is busy at work. And once it's finished, we're then going to flip across to our other agent, and our other agent will use Grok running in the cloud, a 70 billion meta model. And then we should get our financial report on Tesla at the end of it. Here it is. Grok was so quick, we didn't even see it. There's the Grok taking the task and completing it. Here is the result, our financial report on Tesla. It all looks great. Wasn't that easy? And of course, the key point for us to have focused on here is that this second agent that did the summary of the research report on Tesla was taking advantage of the output from the first agent because that was included in its context. And that's how it was able to give what it gave. And you'll note, if we look into this, that it's as of October 2023. And that's a bit disappointing because that's clearly not right now. Key financial metrics, Q3 2023. And yeah, we're not super happy about that. And that is, of course, because we're relying on the context, on the knowledge cutoff from DeepSeek that did our research, and DeepSeek didn't have more, was last trained back in 2023 and doesn't have more recent information, which is unfortunate, but something that we can now fix. So the way we're going to fix it is by adding in a tool, which is the big plan for this week. And it's going to be quite easy. So we do that by going back. Let's close this and go back to the crew.py module, which is where we define our crew. And we are going to add another import here. We're going to import from CrewAI tools. And yeah, there's not going to be much of a job for us in the not too distant future. So yes, indeed, clever old cursor knows that we want the SERPA dev tool here, which is indeed what we want, which is a tool from CrewAI that's able to do Google lookups using our SERPA.dev account. And so you need to put your SERPA API key into the .env file. But now is the challenging, the difficult task of giving the researcher the ability to use that tool. That's what we want to do. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to say that. And we only want our researcher tool to have it. So it's not difficult at all. It is really rather easy. We simply create an instance of the SERPA dev tool and we pass that in this tools list right here. That's all it will take. I save that, and we should be good to go. Maybe we'll go back to models though and pick a different model. Let me see. We're going to go back to agents, and why don't we just use OpenAI GPT-4 Mini so that we have a faster time of it. Okay, let's give this a shot. Let's bring up our terminal. Let's exit that one actually. Let's just start again. I could have typed clear. We go into the third directory, into crew. We go into our financial researcher directory. And now we type CrewAI run. And we're hoping now that it's going to go and look up, using that tool, it's going to look up Google about Tesla and we're going to get some information. Financial researcher in progress. There's something happening here. There's lots happening. Search the internet with SERPA. You can see it's doing its stuff. Plenty of searches happening. Tesla latest news today. I see 2025 appearing in the search results. This is promising. This is good news, but we'll soon see. So the researcher is still working. It's now on the report writer. We're now talking to Grok. And here is the summary. Here is the report. And it's great to see we do indeed have a report as of early 2025. And we've got the most recent news from Tesla. Hasn't done as brilliantly as usual in the last month or so, in the last few weeks, including it's definitely got relevant recent information in this report. And it is, of course, a clear and accurate report. And, it's fantastic to see this stuff. And I guess the usual things for you to appreciate, one is that this is actually a high quality output. This is something that would genuinely, legitimately be useful if you spent about 10 minutes, 15 minutes yourself searching the internet, doing some searches, gathering some information, synthesizing it into an email like this. You probably would come up with something quite similar. It's proper work that's been done with a good output. And the other part of this is how easy it was to build this whole infrastructure, thanks to Crew, thanks to just a couple of commands, building this and then writing in plain English in these YAML files, our objectives for our couple of agents and tasks, and then just giving it the tool. It was able to handle all of this. And unlike OpenAI's costs of 2.5 cents per lookup, these costs have been coming out of our free credits. And so this has cost us nothing. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you've done it yourself and had a similar outcome. And I will now see you for the wrap up. Well, I hope you enjoyed that and you've tried it yourself and experimented with some different models. If you're using Ollama, experiment with some different free open source models. Try messing around with the instructions and the backstories and see what it takes, what sorts of differences you can make, and try other kinds of quick agent projects that evolve using searches. And you're getting more and more familiar with Crew, and I imagine, like me, that you quite enjoy using CrewAI as well. It has a lot to love. All right, next time we're going to take this project a step further, and we're going to experiment with some of the more advanced features of Crew. See you then.